the Menopause Sisters. I'm Nancy. I'm joined by Colleen and Laura, and today's topic is going to be on hot flashes. And so when I started going through menopause, and that was one of the very first ailments that I was having, and I went searching high and low for some non-medical solution to that, and there weren't any, so I created Cool Cami. So I'll just briefly cover what Cool Cami does, but then we'll talk about why people have hot flashes, night sweats, all those things related to that, and where you kind of give the medical terminology around that. But Cool Cami is a camisole that has a little pocket inside it, and you can slide this cooling liner, because my theory was, and I think I got this from you, is that hot flashes start in your core, and then it kind of radiates outward in a flash. And so I think I actually read that a woman's temperature can go up 7 degrees. I don't know if that's accurate, but I read that in another article and thought, well, no wonder I'm on fire, that kind of feeling. And so I thought if I could keep the core cool at a constant state, that would help kind of keep it kind of in this area so it doesn't spread up to the neck and the head, and then you're visibly, sweating and wiping things off. And so that's what Cool Cami is designed to do, and that seems to be working effectively for most people that are using it. The camisole itself is made out of a really good wicking fabric, bamboo fabric. And then there's 2 liners that come with Cool Cami, so that eventually the liner gets less cool and starts to wear down. You just swap it out, stick the other one in there, and this magical phase change material inside the liner recharges all on its own. You don't have to stick it in the refrigerator. You can if you want to accelerate how it gets recharged, but it just, natural air turns it back into its cooling state. So I thought, well, this is great, because I can reuse these year after year after year. And so I could roll one up, stick it in my purse or my computer bag. Right now there's several of them around my house. So just pick one up, like, oh, I'm hot. And then we have these bigger night mats for night sweats. And I used to wake up 6-7 times a night completely drenched in sweat. So I just lay this cooling mat around my abdomen at night, and I can pull the covers up. That will last me at least 3 to 4 hours of sleep, and then that eventually wears off, and I just have the other one laying next to my bed and swap them out, and I go right back to sleep. So I'm never in this full body sweat ever at night again, because this keeps your body in kind of this constant state of cool. So, from a medical side of things, and I keep reading this, nobody knows why we have hot flashes. It's called vasomotor. Yeah, that's the actual medical terminology. So maybe you can kind of speak to some of the things that you've seen in your practice, or other types of ways that you've maybe encourage women to kind of change things to cut down on the amount of hot flashes they have.
Yeah, people don't know for sure what's causing hot flashes, but we think it has something to do with hormones.
Maybe, yeah.
I think there's something going on in the midbrain, where the hypothalamus is, that regulates temperature and metabolism and things like that, that may have an impact on the hot flashes.
Right.
But there are certain things that definitely seem to trigger hot flashes. Certainly stress does.
Right.
Diet does. Often I'll tell women, are you eating very many carbs, or drinking that glass of wine in the evening to try to help you relax? Those will trigger a hot flash like that.
Yeah.
Immediately. As soon as it's touching your lips, you're having a hot flash.
Definitely.
So there's definitely some certain things you can do lifestyle-wise that can help minimize your hot flashes. But really, this is the biggest thing that we hear, on the Menopause Sisterhood Facebook page and other forums on menopause, that women are struggling with and most distressed about are the hot flashes and the night sweats, because they can be so embarrassing for them if they're sitting in a meeting and they're breaking out, and they're trying to be on task with things, or they're waking up several times a night, and they're just exhausted the next day because they're not getting a good night's sleep.
Right.
So, said we don't know what it has to do with the hot flashes, but gee, I think it has something to do with her hormones.
I think you're right.
Maybe, and it could have something to do with that. So they're not quite sure, but we maybe think that something going on with the estrogen and the hypothalamus in the midbrain that can regulate temperature is having a impact on triggering those hot flashes, as does certain lifestyle things such as stress, eating too many carbs or drinking that glass of wine in the evening will trigger a hot flash just like that.
Right. Or caffeine.
Caffeine,
Yeah.
caffeine. Caffeine definitely will. So if you figure that out and listen to this and say, oh, gee, maybe I need to limit, that bowl of ice cream that's got some carbs in it, or whatever soothing comfort food you have in the evening, or the glass of wine. If you cut that out, and
So I have a cure for that. You just take cool candy or
Yeah.
cool mat,
Yeah.
and you lay there with it on with your glass of wine, and you're fine.
I guess that's one way.
Because I prefer to have my glass of wine or my cup of coffee. That was my other thing. So why should I have to change my lifestyle? Isn't there something out there? It's like men don't have to do this. We get screwed every single time,
Yeah. Exactly.
So that's why I wanted to create something that would take away that impact of the heat when I'm having my coffee or drinking my wine, and it does help alleviate that. But it just seems it's not fair that we go through all this. We've got to this point in life where it's like, oh, I don't have to deal with my period anymore. But then you get all this other crap that falls into your lap and you have to deal with. So you kind of lose on that end of the stick too.
Right. Yeah.
But you have some other maybe aromatherapy.
Well,
areas
so
too.
I've looked at what is in aromatherapy that can help assist with the hot flashes. And the one thing I came across more than once was peppermint, the essential oil of peppermint. And just by inhalation, or you would dilute it, and peppermint is one you don't really ever want to use undiluted because it can burn.
Yeah.
It can burn. I've used it, and experimented. It's like, ouch. But use it diluted in a carrier oil, and put it on your wrist, the back of your neck, or just inhaling it from the bottle.
And what about raw, like real peppermint? Can you just eat it and it would help?
That I hadn't read. No,
Okay.
this is a totally different subject altogether, because that, for one thing, if you're talking about the peppermint plant,
Yeah.
you have to know what kind of peppermint it was, because with aromatherapy, it's very specific to certain plants. There's peppermint is Mentha ex pecrita, is what it's called. And I don't know if there's any other chemotypes or variations on that, but it would just have to be that one particular type, maybe not your everyday garden peppermint.
Okay, so you're still crazy out in the garden.
No, and of course the essential oil is a highly concentrated form because of how it's been distilled.
Okay.
Too. So,
Okay. All right. So I'll go crazy in the garden.
right.
All right. And so in other areas that I think women need to address too is the stress side of it. And so I think that I think in other upcoming shows we're going to talk about that. But again, just deep breathing, aromatherapy, different kinds of aromatherapy. I think last time we were talking about different things. Like even I just realized there's a thing you put in the USB port of your computer and had this constant kind of scent that you're inhaling, to keep you calm and kind of help with that.
Yeah, and certainly, from a medical perspective, when I'm treating women with hot flashes, besides talking about lifestyle factors, we also talk about what are some of the treatment options that you're going to use. There are certainly your prescription drugs, which most women that are coming to see me, that's not what they want. That's why they're coming to see me in the first place.
Right.
They're not necessarily interested in taking an antidepressant, though some have been shown to help with that. They're more interested in more natural measures, such as aromatherapy certainly could be one. I do a lot of homeopathy that I've found to work really, really well to help with hot flashes. But I'm also working with them on some of the other aspects to promote hormone balance. So I think those things have a synergistic effect. in helping with their hot flashes. That is the biggest, most distressing thing that they do have. So there are things that can be done. You just have to find the right people to help you, such as your menopause sisters here.
Well, and the reason this is finding alternatives is that study that came out recently that was in the New York Times and I forget which college says the originally thought hot flashes would last 7 years. Now they're saying up to 14
I know,
years.
I was just going to bring
Sorry
that up.
to break the news to you ladies, but it's up to 14 years.
And most of us don't want to be on an artificial hormone, a pharmaceutical, for that many years.
Right.
And there's been shown to have all kinds of negative side effects. So if I can't take that, what am I going to do? How am I going to deal with it?
What are my options?
Yeah, what are my
Yeah.
options? Exactly.
Yeah, and a lot of women use bioidentical hormones too. That's another one that I forgot to mention. And you really have to work with a skilled practitioner and make sure that individualized dosing is adjusted correctly. And consider all your risk factors. Certainly if you have a strong family history of breast cancer or you've had that yourself, you really want to take that into consideration with any kind of prescription, herbal, homeopathic, any kind of treatment option out there. What are the risks and benefits? And some have little to no risk, and some have significantly more risk. So just keep that in mind. This is not a, we're not here to direct you or to treat you in any way. You certainly have to meet with your healthcare professional regarding this.
Well, and I've seen things as people keep saying black wash, apple cider vinegar.
Flax. Didn't you tell me you had tried flax? And you said it didn't work, and I said,
Well,
well, are you grinding it?
I'm like, no, I wasn't
And it's
grinding it.
like, okay, flax can work. And I know people who have used flax found it very effective with these ground flax. Whole flax seeds just go right on through you.
Well, I discovered that. I thought, well, something's working, but I'm working in the wrong thing that I'm trying to cure here. But yeah, I was watching on YouTube, and I'm thinking, drinking vinegar, won't that taste like horrible? And so they talk about how you can kind of dilute it a little bit, and I thought, well, I haven't tried that one yet. So there's all these different homeopathic things to try.
Apple cider vinegar is a great cure-all for a lot of different things.
Right. So those are some other options. So we're not saying there's one magic pill or solution out there that's going to work for everybody's, because everybody's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
But by educating you around what are the options, again, always kind of use our guidelines around what should you be asking your medical professional for, then that's kind of a starting point. But I think women are just, unfortunately, learning from other women and taking whatever works.
And I think, in all honesty, most of medical professionals, unless they have, like Laura, has taken special training and educated themselves, are following the standard set format. And a lot of them just don't even have time to look further. If they're a general practitioner or your standard OBGYN doctor, you really have to make a committed effort to find out what else is out there. And a lot of doctors, it's like, well, what does research say about this?
Yeah.
And it's very hard to find a lot of research on some of these things, in all honesty, because it's not funded by big pharmaceutical companies, and studies of any size are very hard to get done. You can find maybe little studies, but so they say refer to your medical doctor. Yeah, you can ask them about it, but I think that a lot of cases they're not going to know a whole lot. They're going to say, well, okay, try it,
Yeah. And I have some seen medical experts that are men. So you're like, what do you know about this? I mean, it's not like, you prefer to somebody that's personally experiencing this, and through trial and error, what have they been trying, or what have they heard from other women? How long does it last? How many do you have a day? And what's interesting though is I've noticed this, and this has been a common thread among the language in some of the women's discussions, is they wake up the exact same time of night as their hot flashes or their night sweats kick in. And that happens to be every single day. I know exactly when it's going to kick in. So I immediately grab one of my recliners or our mats and just like, all right, it's going to happen.
It's usually between 2 and 4, a lot of around 3 a.m. for,
Whatever reason.
Yeah.
And you would think, okay, if we know this, what can medical or scientists study from this? What's going on in your sleep pattern or when things get digested or whatever goes on when you're at that state of rest that then kicks that in when you're in a perfectly still state and boom, your eyes wake up, you're like, oh, here we go again. So on that note, we'll wrap up this episode of Menopause Sisters, and stay tuned for our other videos for additional information on how to help you in different stages of menopause.